What's up guys, Yannick Reid here and welcome back to the YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Yannick Reid and I am a visual creative from Kingston, Jamaica that likes to talk about technology, creativity, and photography and videography. So if you like that kind of stuff, consider hitting the subscribe button down below. We will be updating with videos pertaining to those topics that I hope will be very entertaining. So for today's video, I wanted to dive right in. I have a story for you. It's story time. I want to tell you the story of why I sold all my gear after a failed shoot. Earlier this year, 2019, I was hired to do some photography and videography coverage for a concert. I don't want anybody to feel like I'm slandering anybody. But yes, so I was shooting the Buju concert earlier this year and I was really hyped to shoot it. I love concert photography, so I was pumped to shoot it. I had all of my gear lined up. I want to explain that the gear that I was using for that shoot was my Sony a7R II and my Sony a6300. At the time, I was mostly adapting lenses. Which means I was using Canon lenses, adapting them to Sony cameras. Without having to go into the details of the adapting process, let me just say it's not perfect. You know, there are some small things that you give up when you're adapting, like autofocus, reliability, etc. You know, it's almost like you're jerry-rigging one thing to work with something else. So I was adapting, you know, that's what I was doing for a large portion of the time while I had these Sony cameras. So I didn't have Sony lenses that worked on Sony cameras except one. These lenses were malfunctioning prior, you know, like the day of the concert comes. Anybody who knows the Buju Banton concert, it was a well-stacked concert with a lot of people up on the lineup. So everything was going well. I was capturing everybody. The moment of the night, which is Buju Banton going on stage himself, and I really pride myself on concert photography. So this was like a big moment for me that I work hard to get in, find somebody that could allow me to go and shoot the show and have the right press pass. All of a sudden, it's like when him go on stage now, it's like everything just stop work. Is that every few shots it would just shut down the camera completely. Boom, like the camera would just die. This was the first time Buju was making his appearance since he left incarceration, so this is a ram-pack concert. It was just not going well. Shots were coming out blurry, I was not getting stuff, my equipment just lock up on me. But right at the perfect aha moment, everything just kind of got to shit and things were not working. I go home. Images before Buju go on stage were pretty decent, but the set that I had from Buju going on stage was, to me, way below my standard. I was so really upset with myself that I allowed myself to be going around the place with this gear, these tools for my trade that were not up to scratch, that were malfunctioning. I feel like I let the client down. I let all the people who support me in photography, who were expecting me to do a good job, I feel like I let them down. You know, I sat down and I said, you know what, I'm not doing any more work with this equipment. You know, I sat down and I looked at all my options as what I could do. I contemplated selling everything that I owned and just going full Canon, like buying a new camera, new lens and whatever that was possible, but it just seemed like a lot of work. In the end, I decided to sell all of my Canon gear. So I had a Canon camera, 3 Canon lenses. I put them all on sale. In short order, everything was sold. Before I had a 24-105 f4, I had a 70-200 f2.8 and I had a 50mm. This combination of lenses fit what I had to do in terms of like portraits, a little bit of lifestyle, and the 70-200 for concerts. To get the same lens setup in the Sony version was very expensive and I couldn't reach that price. So I already had a 28, that was my first Sony native lens. So I said, you know what, I'm going to get a 35 and I'm going to get an 85 and I'm just going to make the 85 work for my longest range of lens for concerts. And I was very happy with the results that I was getting. Fast forward a couple months later into the summer, I'm actually on stage, side stage at a Buju concert. You know, I still kind of feeling away. I was in my mind to say, Yannick shooting, you know? I guess I was still emotionally hurt from the failure that I didn't want to try again. But then I said, you're here, Yannick. You know, this is actually in Germany at a show. And I said, alright, you know what? Just go and do your thing. So I put the camera to my face and I said, alright, let me try to get this first shot. Press down. no SD card. Remember that I left it in the dressing room. I was finished working, so I didn't really expect to be here. So my brethren was there, Charlie Salzfield, big up yourself, Charlie. And I was like, yo, Charlie, have a spare SD card? You know, him rummage through him bag and him say, SD card? Him say, yeah. Him say, alright, yo, I have one, just here, hold it. You know, I walk around and, you know, snapping a couple shots. I was walking like back, like behind like the band itself, facing out to the crowd, and like there's like this smoke machine, and that's when I captured this wicked shot. We'll put it on the screen now. This wicked shot of like Buju in like the middle of a performance, kind of like mystical with all of like this smoke around, and the colors are perfect. You know, that was a really good moment for me, for like all the bad stuff that happened the first time I shot him to kind of know. It was like that moment where I felt, what's that word? I got some closure, because the first moment where I failed, you know, I took it really badly. It really kind of bruised me, you know, because I took pride in my work and I did kind of feel like I failed. It was like that moment where I was able to prove to myself that I was not the fault at which I failed. You know, I had beat myself up, but I realized that it was my tools. And once I, you know, had the right tools in my possession, I was able to execute at the level that I expect for myself. You know, I shared a story, you know, kind of let people know that, you know, I have been in situations where, you know, I've messed up, you know, have to find ways to make it work, but at the same time I was still unhappy with myself because of a level of quality that I expect for myself. Like, we all go through failure at times, and that's a moment where I felt like I failed, and it was good to have that redemption moment. I feel like it was really important that that moment of failure happened, because, you know, it kind of pushed me to make that step. Like, if that never happened, I'd probably still be kind of lugging around this gear that not doing like 100% of what it's supposed to do. And your tools of your trade is very important for it to be working at, you know, optimum level. Failure happens, and it's not the end of the world, and sometimes you get moments to prove yourself, and sometimes nobody else is really noticing the failure that you put on yourself, but it's still good to have your personal standards. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I want you to enjoy the rest of your day, your night, your evening, whatever you're doing, and just go on, continue to bless up yourself.